I know you're in this room today because you do two major things in your lives, even if it's just your call to be a community member, and for sure if it's your work or it's the way you're raising people you love, is that you're taking some hard things off of the scale. You're doing a lot of work that puts good things onto people's scales and your own. And what we're going to be talking today is a little bit about how we can move that fulcrum even more, so that regardless of what comes our way or what blocks are on the scale, we can keep tipping towards the positive. So these resiliency tools that we talk about in this 2-day training are actually how we turn off the body's natural stress response when we don't need it anymore. You don't need to worry that we would ever keep it from functioning. It'll always be there for us. But most of us are in overdrive. We've had big stuff happen in our lives, and our big stress response is still coming. Just randomly. You know, I smell smoke after my house has burned down, and there I go. The big energy to run out of a burning house is available to me. In fact, it's overloading me just on any random day when I'm driving down the road and smell somebody who's got a nice wood stove smoke going and everything's safe. So we want to be able to figure out how we turn off the stress response system when we don't need it. And the cool thing is, through the natural design, you might say the God-given design of our healthy body, it's available to us, which is pretty neat. Before we talk about that though, I want to talk a little bit about these fancy words are regulation, self-regulation and co-regulation. But I don't really talk like that. I imagine y'all probably don't either. So let's not, okay? Let's just talk about what it's like to get our act together when we've gotten all kind of which way. And whether we do that by ourselves or whether we do that with people that we trust and love or that we can depend on even if we hardly know them, but they're safe, right? So we learn to be able to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, keep ourselves together, and do what needs doing and stay steady in the middle of things that are upset, first by having that done for us thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And that's what you see up in the top row of all these different little babies getting held, right? Is that my little body, when I was tiny, didn't know how to settle down and hush and relax and let myself go to sleep. But if some other people, big people that were safe, were able to do that for me, swaddle me or hold me, or, you know, if you start talking about babies, I even start wanting to start swaying like this, right? Those are things that babies learn. Some of us got all of that we needed, and then we grow into the ability to do that by ourselves when we need to. And some of us didn't. In any community we live in, there's going to be a bunch of people who didn't get enough of that on the front end. Even though their folks loved them a lot. Times were hard. We were working 2 shifts, right? Or somebody had Alzheimer's and I was rushing between my trailer, you know, doing my kids and taking care of my parents who were struggling down the road. And there's all kinds of reasons why it happens. But it's just really helpful to know that we get a new chance every day to choose this beautiful balance. And instead of believing that we have to do it all by ourselves when times are hard, we can start noticing that what healthy people do, whether we're 5 or 25 or 65, is we move back and forth between these. So if I get some big jolt that comes my way and I'm feeling some kind of way like, oh my gosh, I just found out there are going to be layoffs at the plant and I may lose my job, who am I going to text and say, oh goodness, you're not going to believe this, be with me? Those are my people. Those are the folks that I want to do this fancy thing called co-regulation with, and we're doing it all the time. Y'all are already doing it. You're great at it, right? But our jobs and our workplaces and our financial lives and our responsibilities to family and other things sometimes can separate us from being able to take advantage of reaching back towards who our people are. And there are people in our community who aren't sure who their people are, or they may literally not have folks, right? So I put this youth group one up here today. It's on there just because I've heard that this is the place where about 70 young people come every Wednesday and feel welcome and safe and like they want to be here. And I'm just thinking, oh, you guys are already helping 70 young people in your community figure out you don't actually go it alone. That's a myth. You know, that's part of the American dream, but it's actually not the part that helps us be well. The part that helps us be well is remembering that we're community, that we've got each other's back, that we don't have to do any of this alone. And what we get to do is start teaching our school system and our criminal justice system and lots of other places, how can we make space for community and hold each other and teach each other during school and even when we're incarcerated and while we're in, you know, juvenile justice, how it is that we'll lean into one another rather than doing it alone. So these are the key tools that happen in this Reconnect model. And that's pretty small writing if you're in the back of the room. Don't worry, I'm not expecting you to understand any of them. But I just want to give a nod towards that, towards this biological model that can help us reset our nervous system. Very briefly, I just went to a great workshop by Brian about the adolescent brain. Wow, that was cool. And he's talking about what we call the hand-brain model. He calls it the fist model. It's the same thing, I think. Talking about how we can take fancy pants brain science and reduce it down pretty quickly into 3 parts of the brain. Our survival brain, down here at your wrist. Your emotional brain, which is the way I teach it all in the palm of your hand. Inside your emotional brain is your smoke detector that tells you if you're safe or if you're not. And then you wrap those fingers over the palm of your hand, covering up your thumb. And this is your prefrontal cortex. That's another way I don't usually talk. I just call it your thinking brain. And your thinking brain is what helps you get through all kinds of big things. Come on now. My little clicker's not happy. There we go. Maybe I need to be closer to it. So the survival brain tells us that I'm going to have a big response that's going to save my life, right? And the survival brain is waiting for life-threatening things to happen all the time. And it might be as life-threatening as not being able to find a parking spot, which is no life threat at all, right? Or coming in late to something that really it ought to be okay to come in whenever, but actually you're feeling lousy about being 5 minutes late and you're like, oh, I hope they're not looking. Oh, they're going to think I'm that kind of person. Oh, I shouldn't have been late. That's actually our survival brain going, girl, it's bad. It's real bad. And what do we start feeling if you got that slinking in the door feeling and you've been rushing to get there and, you know, you saw the blue lights that were not for you, but they could have been because you were going 65 in a 45, trying to not be late. My heart's beating real fast. My palms are a little sweaty. I might be just a tad shaky, right? My blood pressure is definitively up. Okay, so this is all of us. This is not about trauma. This is about all human brains. My emotional brain holds everything I know about relationships and attachment. All my memory bank, both positive and negative memories that have happened in my life.